Welcome to HP Tuner's Ford Gen 1 Coyote Training Part 21. In this training module, we're going to be taking a look at working with our VCT scheduling basics. The VCT scheduling is going to be how the variable cam works within the Ford Coyote engines. We're going to break down looking at all the tables, how they fit together in order to command the cams to rotate at various different points within the engine's operation. We're going to have a lot to cover. Let's jump in so we can check this out.
Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with our variable cam control programming in our Gen 1 Coyote applications. Our variable cam control, or the VCT as Ford is calling it, allows us to have a high flexibility in dynamic movement of our camshafts based on how we want to control our overlap. So at idle, we want to have the least amount of overlap, so we have a smooth idle. When we're at full throttle, at low RPM, we want to dial in a decent amount of overlap with our camshaft movement and rotation so that we're able to gain some cylinder filling and gain some scavenging effect, which allows us to move any burnt exhaust gas and have kind of a vacuum effect that draws it out of the combustion chamber and also promotes cylinder filling and bringing in more fresh air charge. That allows us to make more horsepower and torque at low and mid RPM. And then we typically want to go and dial back the overlap at high RPM. That allows us to have this dynamic movement or blending of the actual overlap, so that produces the best possible power band. Now at part throttle situations, we can use the variable cam control to reduce the pumping losses as the engine is running and improve our fuel economy. So we can use the variable cam control to our advantage to have good idle, good fuel economy, and good power when we're on full throttle conditions. So essentially we're able to have this high level of tuning capability as long as we're programming the variable cam control properly. So that's what we're going to be digging into in this tutorial, taking a look at all the basics of how the variable cam control works. We have an Excel spreadsheet that's going to help you visualize exactly what's going on. We're going to talk about how the variable cam control drives other functionality in the ECU, and then just understanding exactly what we're going to be doing in terms of programming, calibrating it. Now, we're gonna have a separate tutorial of doing the actual tuning. We're gonna do some demonstrations with that so you can see the before and after by making changes live with the actual vehicle. So we're going to separate that into another tutorial, so this one isn't super long and you can just digest what I'm talking about in this tutorial, because there is a lot to learn. It is a relatively confusing topic. If you're used to working with the earlier generation Mustangs and you're moving into these newer generation Mustangs, this is starting to get more and more complex. So we have a lot of tables that hinge upon the variable cam control. So we're going to start to talk about that here first in the beginning of this video. Let's jump in and take a look at where we can find our variable cam control tab and all the tables that are associated with it. Now we have to definitely edit certain tables. Other tables we don't have to touch, so we're going to go through what are the most important tables to go in and calibrate and dial in, and then which ones we want to leave alone. All right, so let's jump in here. I have a 2013 Mustang GT file that I have open. I'm going to move in here to Engine, and I'm going to go across here into Airflow, and then from Airflow, we're going to move across into Variable Camshaft. The Variable Camshaft tab here holds all the programming information for the variable cam control. Now, in order to start off in talking about this, we need to understand mapped points. We've touched on this very briefly in our PCM logic operation overview tutorial. We're going to touch on it right here so we can just get a visual idea of what's going on within the variable cam control, and then we'll dig into it a little bit deeper. So we have this naming from Ford called map points. What is mapped points? Well, if we take a look at something like our spark timing, we're going to find here that we have our borderline and our MBT. These are borderline spark tables, maximum brake torque spark tables. Now we're going to get into spark tuning and tables, what that all means, but understanding the map points, we have these map points from 0 to 13, and then we also have an optimal power. That's our full throttle reference for spark timing. These map points, if we open up our spark timing table, are all going to be unique and going to be different from each other. So if we're taking a look here at how the table's laid out, we have our spark timing in the table. This is our map point 0. We move across to map point 9. The table is completely different. The values are different between these map points. The map points are associated with certain cam angle movement of the actual overlap of the cylinder filling, of how the variable cam control is working. We'll find that the volumetric efficiency, or the breathing the engine, is going to be different. And therefore, because the cylinder filling is different and the cylinder pressure is different, we're going to have different amount of spark timing demands when it's operating at a particular cam angle movement. And we have both intake and exhaust variable cam movement. So we'll find that these map points are associated to a certain pairing of movement in the intake and exhaust camshafts. As we'll jump back into our variable cam here in just a minute, we'll see what that means exactly, but just note that we have these map points. Now, the ECU is going to move through the different map points or shift itself through these tables depending on what we're programming in the variable cam tables. So the variable cam control drives the spark timing and sourcing exactly what spark timing it should run based on the variable cam that we're programming. So we can see variable cam is going to make and drive spark timing. So depending on what we do in our programming, it will move around and it'll index between these tables. Now, if we close this out here and if we jump in here to airflow, we jump into speed density, we can find in our speed density format here for calibrating and tuning, we also have map points. So we see all these map points 0 to 14 in optimal power. If we're taking a look at our torque model, and we take a look, we also have here, looking in.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.